as a kid growing up in Melbourne, it's exactly the same. I used to come here in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and it's exactly the same.
My first drag event at Calder Park would have been watching Dad back in 1992 in modified bike on his Harley Davidson.
First memories of Calder Park is I come in with a couple of mates, and they were racing, and I said, oh mate, that looks really easy. So we grabbed my dad's car, jumped in it, and went for a ride. I thought, oh mate, this is grouse. To jump in the car that day cost me, I think, $26, and now it's costing me thousands. So that's what's changed, the money side of it mostly.
It's a lot better compared to last time we were here. They've done some improvements, so laid down a decent number last night, so hopefully to get a bit of warmth in the track today and see what we can't do today.
It's a very tricky track to race at. We've found that the last few days. It's not like a Sydney, Willowbank or a Perth racetrack, but they're the cards we've been dealt, and we've got to make the best of it. That's the pinnacle. That's why we race. That's why we've done this our whole lives. My family, we've been here since we were kids. We've raced since we've had licences. We've always been at the racetrack, and your life dream is winning a gold Christmas tree.
Weather's held on for us. The track's been good. A little bit shaky down the other end, but there's a good atmosphere, and there's a lot of people have come up and said, I can remember back in 2000 when all the big bikes ran. It's been so long since anyone's been down here racing, so it's good.
Winning gold Christmas tree means, it's basically what we come here to the track for. It's a part of Australian drag racing, and that's what we're here to do, and that's what we're here to take home.
Calder Park Raceway. How good is it to be back here at the spiritual home of Australian drag racing? It is the 2016 Australian Drag Racing Nationals, and we are here at Calder Park for the first time in 15 years. My name's Rusty Gregory. It's fantastic to have you here. I'm joined by Dave Carter up here in the box. Dave, it is just a spectacular venue when it is full of people, and it is full of people this weekend.
Yeah, it's so cool to see Calder all lit up like it used to be. We've seen a few drift events recently coming around that staging area and out onto the straight with the long sweeper, but it'd be cool to see some guys actually crack some serious speeds down the blacktop. It looks like the track is prepped and the fans are ready. It's going to be an exciting night of racing.
Yeah, but before we get into it, let's have a look at the championship points for Pro Stock after round one of the championship. Tyrone Tremaine leading the way. Lee Bektash, last year's champion, back there in second, and a whole host of very, very tough racers that are all here this weekend to do battle. Let's have a look at round one of racing now. It is Bill Perdicaris closest to lane. He'll be taking on Lee Bektash in this first round. Jody Racco will take on Aaron Tremaine. Nino Cavallo and Jason Grimer in the Mustang. And Bill Kotzius will take on Tyrone Tremaine in the final matchup of our first round of racing.
Star-studded field with some aggressive-looking cars. This is Pro Stock style that I'm absolutely addicted to. It's so American, you see these big, long, almost funny car style bodies with these huge cages and big scoops and a lot of power under there, and you can see it's all race car on the inside, and it's definitely all on when they leave the line.
Super slippery cars, not much downforce on them. It's all designed for going quick in a straight line. We've got a good race on our hands here. Bektash out in front. Oh, big move for Perdicaris. He's over. Oh. He is going on a ride. That is a nasty, nasty incident for Bill Perdicaris. Let's hope he is okay in that car. But man, oh man, I was talking about the downforce on these cars and the lack of it. And as soon as you get out of the groove in these things, you can't overcorrect them. And I think that's what's happened here to Bill Perdicaris. That's exactly right. Just overcorrected. The back of the car washed around. And by that point, he's just a passenger.
Yeah, it's really easy to fall into that trap when you're moving at such an incredible pace, even by half track. It's the most minute movements of the wheel can end you up there, but it's fantastic to see the safety gear that is absolutely crucial in this category of racing. As much as some panels have come off that thing, I'm sure it can be straightened out.
And let's not forget as well, Lee Bektash over in the other lane, I should say, 707. But when you see the reaction from the crew on the other side of the racetrack, that is the opposing racers, the hands go on their head. Drag racing is a big family, and it looks like Bill is talking to the safety crew. I think he'll be okay. Fortunately, it did look like a fairly gentle roll as far as Pro Stock crashes go. But man, oh man, that's a scary, scary incident for everyone involved.
It's really just lifted up there off the back of that correction. And it speaks for how huge the tyres are on this thing. Like, all of these cars are running on some serious grip, and as soon as they come out of line there, especially with some locked diffs, they can just be thrown onto the roof.
Well, Bill Perdicaris, he is a good racer, and I'm sure we will see him back in the future of Pro Stock in the ANDRA Drag Racing Series. Well, I don't know how we top that. After one matchup, we've already seen one car go on its roof in a 7-0 from Lee Begtash, but we've got Tyrone Tremaine and Bill Cotius on the start line. Now Cotius closest to screen.
Looks to be a bit of a pull away there from Tremaine. Well and truly out in front in that far lane. They're 7.093 at 313 k's an hour. That is absolutely macking Rusty.
Yeah, that was a good run from Tyrone Tremaine. Right around that 7.0 mark that we saw Lee Begtash set. If you want a benchmark, Begtash is probably it at the moment, though I think the Tremaine boys have found a bit of horsepower in the off-season because they certainly seem to have picked up as well. Now we've got the returning former champion, Jason Grimer, in the PC Cranes Mustang. This is a fantastic looking car. He's taking on Nino Cavallo, a man he's gone from a bit of a smoky in this field to being a genuine contender every single time he comes out. This car's got Bob Book racing power under the bonnet, and he can win races, let me tell you.
Both coming onto the line now for what is sure to be an absolute neck-and-neck battle. Very close on the lights there with Grimer just getting the nod, 0.16. That Mustang seems to be doing a little bit of a crab down the track there, and it's Cavallo in front. But interesting to know, Grimer with almost 15 kilometres an hour on Cavallo's car. And I mean, it's crazy to see something come through like that a lot quicker, but with a slower speed, a few traction issues early on.
Yeah, I'd love to see what happened here for Cavallo. The back of the car looked like it just washed out. In fact, right there, got a little bit close to the centre line, dropped the chutes just to straighten the car out, washed a whole bunch of speed off the top end of the car. In fact, took probably 20 miles per hour off it. But Jason Grimer, he was unlucky not to get around him there, but Nino Cavallo through to the semi-finals.
Aaron Tremaine up against Jody Racco now in the close lane here in that Holden Monaro up against the Pontiac GXP. Both running around the 400 cube mark under the bonnet. It's going to be an interesting race. How cool is that digital dash right there up on the screen? These are the ultimate race car runs.
They genuinely are a driver's car. Great to see Jody Racco over from WA as well. It's a long haul all the way over for the Nationals, and I tell you what, he's giving Tremaine a good shake here, but unfortunately just not enough in it at the top end of the racetrack. 7.01 for Aaron Tremaine, low ET of the first round, and there's the fist pump, there's the clap of the hands. If you think this is just another race for all these races, let me tell you different, because this is the Nationals. This is what it's all about.
Creeping further into that 300 kilometre an hour mark as well. That was absolutely insane. Both getting really good lights as well, both on a 0.0 something of a 4.9 up against a 7.6 of Jody Racco. Serious racing.
Yeah, very close. Banging it through the gears. You'll see the hand go over to the steering wheel. He'll hit the chutes, shut the car down. That's a good win for Tremaine there. He'll move on to the semi-finals. And we've got some good matchups coming through in the semi-finals of Pro Stock. Plenty of tough racing. Lee Begtash will take on Aaron Tremaine, battle of the former and current champions. And Nino Cavallo will take on Tyrone Tremaine. Potentially, we could have an all-Tremaine final here in Pro Stock at the Nationals.
I'm here with Bill Perdicaris, who's just had one of the biggest accidents we've seen today. Bill, what was that like from your point of view?
It was pretty scary. Was in a lot of shock after the accident, but main thing, I'm all right. The guys in the ambulance did a fantastic job, took care of me, so it's all good.
Have you had a chance to look at the car and assess the damage?
Yeah, we had a chance. We just looked at it about 10 minutes ago. The chassis still looks pretty good. There's a bit of like the seal panel and cosmetics. Yeah, so it's not too bad.
Good to hear. Hope you're not feeling too sore tomorrow.
No, we'll be right. Thank you.
Absolute legend attitude there from Bill Perdicaris. Bit of a crash before, but looks like he'll be back out and racing as soon as possible, hopefully for the next round. But now it's time for the semis. Aaron Tremaine, facing up against Lee Bektash. And as you pointed out before, Russ, there's another Tremaine in the semis. This could be an interesting final.
It wouldn't be the first time we've seen an all-Tremaine final, but I tell you what, this is probably the marquee matchup of the semi-final rounds, because we've got the reigning national champ, Lee Bektash, in the Mopar, taking on the most winning pro stock driver that we've ever had in this country, Aaron Tremaine. Tremaine is treating what's Bektash got at the other end.
Man, that's fast at home.
Bektash has got nothing. Tremaine, a 7-1-5, takes it. Whole shot win there over the reigning national champ. What a win for Aaron Tremaine. And that one, chalk that one up to the driver right there. He won that whole thing on the start line.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot in that, Russ. A 7-1-5-5 up against a 7.115 with less than half a second. Oh, sorry, less than 5/10 of a second there in the light on the tree. It was absolutely run and done before they both left the line.
And that Mopar's got big horsepower, but just not quite enough to chase him down at the top end. Now, can we see Tyrone Tremaine go through to take on his brother in the final round? Well, I know one person will want to have a big say in that, and that's Nino Cavallo. He'll be saying, no way, this is the Nationals. I want to be representing Dodge, and I want to be representing Cavallo Drainage and Earthworks in this final round, because this is the Nationals. It's on his home turf in Melbourne, and he wants to win this one. I think he'd probably give a body part to win this one.
What a gnarly-looking Dodge as well. I mean, that thing looks almost like something you'd see on the street, absolutely stretched out and sinister. And oh no, a red light from Tremaine off the line.
Oh, red light, more like a pink light. 003 on the tree. That was so close to perfect, but unfortunately, there's no such thing as second best in drag racing. You red light, that's pretty much it. Your day is done. I think Cavallo might have seen the red light up on the tree, and he shut the car off. He knew he'd won it. The fist pump goes. He's happy. He's through to the final.
What an unfortunate way for Tyrone Tremaine to go home on what was practically a perfect light, just sneaking underneath it and getting Nino Cavallo through to the finals to face up against his brother, Aaron Tremaine, for a face-off for the Pro Stock Trophy.
There is nothing quite like the roar of a small block, a naturally aspirated small block running through the gears and doing the burnout in the final round of the Australian Nationals at drag racing's spiritual home, Calder Park Raceway. And man, oh man, you think it sounds good. Have a look at how good it looks in the super slow-mo.
It's crazy to see these guys going all motor, all power on big, big tyres. It's such an interesting class for exactly that, Russ. Some really high revving, naturally aspirated V8s. That's the absolute core and the roots of drag racing, which is what Calder Park's all about in essence.
And this is a really interesting matchup for the final round. Nino Cavallo is a guy who is no stranger to winning. This guy has won 4 national Superstock championships. He is a good racer, very strong racer, who's recently found a lot of horsepower since switching over to the Bob Book Racing Engines program. On the other hand, you've got Aaron Tremaine, the multi-time national champion in this class, Pro Stock. Probably the best driver that this class has ever produced in this country. He is an incredible racer. It's all on the line here for the trophy, the gold Christmas tree at the Nationals. Who's going to take it?
Red light early on again from a Tremaine. This time Aaron popping the chutes early. He knows it's over.
Man, that is so unlike Aaron Tremaine. A huge red light. It wasn't even a small one. A 163 red light for Aaron Tremaine. Hands the win to Cavallo. I don't want to say hands it to him though, but because Nino Cavallo, he earned that one. 7-1-1. He's been running quick times all weekend. He put down another good pass in this final round. It would have been hard to beat. But man, oh man, Aaron Tremaine, the red light comes on, the clutch goes in, and the head goes down. He would not be happy with himself inside that car.
2 beautifully presented Pro Stock cars, both being towed back to Queensland, leaving the victory there for a Victorian on home turf. What an upset.
I'll tell you what, it is an upset. I love seeing them bang through the gears. You see Tremaine out in front. Cavallo, though, he passes him at half-track across the finish line, and he's at the top end. A very happy Nino Cavallo.
Nino Cavallo taking out the gold tree. How satisfying is the win?
It's the best win ever. Home track, fans, family, they all come to watch us at our home track, and it's the best deal ever. Can't be more happy.
A very emotional and understated Nino Cavallo. He gets to take home the trophy, and he also takes home the points lead. Overtakes Tyrone Tremaine for that number 1 slot, but it is going to be a hard-fought point score all year long. Don't go anywhere. We've got all the action from the rest of our Group 1 classes coming up after the break. Welcome back to Calder Park Raceway. We are set to go racing with Pro Stock Motorcycle. The last time we saw these bikes here, about 15 years ago, they were running very high 7-second passes. These days, we're down in the low 7s, knocking on the door of a 6-second run. It is quite incredible how technology has progressed over the years. But here are your championship points after one round of the championship. The Northern Territorian, Scott White, is leading the way on 107 points, with the Buell chasing him down, Corey Buttigieg. And speaking of Scott White, that's the Darwin Bolt Supplies bike on screen right now. Number 1 qualifier, so he gets the bye in the first round of racing.
A great position to be in round 1, with the other guys having to fight their way through to those semis. Corey Buttigieg up against Ryan Learmont, followed by Lockie Island up against Glenn Worcester.
The big one there for me is Corey Buttigieg. I can't wait to see what that bike can do. It's still a brand new combination, but before we get to that, let's have a look at Scott White, the Northern Territorian points leader, man who has really been setting the pace for Pro Stock Motorcycle over the last couple of years, and it looks like he's doing the job again here in this first round of racing. The bike being very, very untidy, but a 7.40, I reckon that would probably be up there with one of the quickest runs that we've seen here at Calder Park Raceway for a Pro Stock Motorcycle. Great run.
It's great to have this buy run to really appreciate the sound of that heavily modified Hayabusa. What an absolute weapon. I can't imagine hanging off the back of that.
Ryan Learmont now, love the look on this bike, but I don't like seeing that. Brakes just off the start line, but I tell you what, Corey Buttigieg, he better get his act together here. If he touches the wall, he's out, and that means Learmont is back in. Fortunately, he keeps it upright, keeps it off the wall, and an 8.23, not representative of what that Buell can do, but I tell you what, he'll need to get that thing sorted for the semi-finals.
Bit of a breakage there, but more wobble than a push bike from Buttigieg. That was absolutely loose. Imagine that sort of speed. I mean, even backing off, it's still an 8-second pass, only inches off cement. Look at the onboard, that is loose.
Final pass of this first round of racing. It is Lockie Island, far side of the racetrack, on the Suzuki, taking on Glenn Worcester closest to screen, and not sure what happened there for Worcester. He just couldn't get the thing off the start line, let the clutch out, and the bike didn't move. But Lockie Island, he'll take that one. An 8.26. The bike was moving around a lot on that run, but still an 8.26. It takes him through to the semi-finals. Who he will face off, we'll find out very shortly. But the former national champion still in racing.
With a few of the breakages we've seen, and especially a couple of these bikes running quickly but a little bit off pace and a bit all over the place, as we're seeing here, it's sure to be a crazy final. I mean, these guys have a lot more in it.
And this is the way it's shaping up. Scott White taking on Corey Buttigieg, and Lockie Island with the solo pass through to the final round.
Pro Stock motorcyclist Scott White, as he is busy at the autograph session. Look at all these people that have turned out to meet you today.
Oh, yeah, not just me, but they've come to see the drag racing, and it looks like Melbourne loves it. It's quite a crowd, and so many people coming through here. Everyone's enjoying it. The atmosphere here is just electric. It's great. The whole place is going on.
The autograph session was certainly popular with the fans. They were standing 4, 5, 6 people deep trying to get that to that autograph session. It really is great to see the way that the crowd has come out to support this event here in Melbourne. And I tell you what, they're going to be treated to a fantastic race here in the first semi-final. Corey Buttigieg closest to screen on the Buell. He's taking on the current points leader, Scott White from Darwin.
Looks like we're going to get a nice ride on board this crazy Hayabusa of Scott White. Fast ET of the day, a 7.4. This thing is absolutely honking. With a few other people in the field having breakages and issues down the track, this seems to be the only one that's gone straight so far, but Buttigieg gets the light.
Well, this is a good one. Buttigieg's out in front. Oh, no.
That is loose.
What a ride from Corey Buttigieg. It looks like he's lost a tyre right at the finish line. And, man, how has he managed to keep that bike upright? That is, without a doubt, the ride of the weekend for mine, probably the ride of the decade. How he managed to keep that shiny side up is absolutely beyond me. Fantastic effort.
Man, I've had punctures on push bikes and ended up on my face. This guy, on the back wheel, through the traps, throws the tread off the tyres. That is absolutely crazy. What a ride.
To put that into perspective, he was going almost 190 miles per hour when that tyre let go. Rips a bit of bodywork off the back of the bike, and that is a lot of experience. Corey Buttigieg's been doing that for a long, long time. Not necessarily on this bike, but on drag bikes in general, and that's experience. I think he'll probably step off that bike, take a couple of deep breaths and say, all right, let's get it ready for the final round.
Man, big long bike like that, I reckon it'd have a bit of pendulum motion going on between your legs there, and that's not what you want to happen right at the big end of the track.
Lockie Island now just accepts the green light, as he is perfectly entitled to do. He's got the solo pass in the semi-final, so he rolls it through, accepts the green light, and he will move on to the final round, where he will take on Corey Buttigieg. Now, the interesting thing that we missed in all the excitement for Corey Buttigieg, he actually reset the track record for Pro Stock Bike here at Calder Park Raceway, 7:20. It's one of the quickest runs that we've seen for a long, long time in Pro Bike. So Buttigieg, he's doing a great job this weekend.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing to see someone reset a track record, almost reset the national record for a pro bike, and do all of that on the back wheel, a bit all over the place, and throwing the tread off through the traps. I mean, this bike must have some serious mumbo.
It's just scary to think what they're going to do once they get this bike sorted. But standing in his way in this final round is Lockie Island. He's no stranger to winning big events and big trophies. Of course, he is a former national champion in this class. Still one of the youngest riders in the class, but I tell you what, he has got plenty of experience. Been riding these bikes for probably 6 or 7 years now.
Rolling into stage now, I bet the heat is absolutely on. Imagine hopping back on the bike after a big tank slap like that through the trap. What an absolute legend.
And it looks like problems for Lockie Island, and I tell you what, problems for Corey Buttigieg as well. It sounds more like a lawnmower going down the racetrack there. The bike not running on all cylinders, but he takes the win anyway. A 13-second pass takes the gold Christmas tree in Pro Stock Motorcycle at the 2016 Australian Nationals. If I told you that at the start of the weekend, would you have believed me?
No way, but I mean, I guess when you reset the track record, you can go ahead and double it in the next run, especially if it's going to get you a trophy.
He's earned the ride after that ride in the semi-finals at least. He's at the top end.
Corey from Pro Stock Motorcycle taking out the gold tree. Describe that winning feeling.
It's good to win on a home track, even though we nearly didn't make it for the finals because of the back tyre in the last race. It let go at 180 miles an hour. Dan managed to get it all fixed and up and ready for the next one, and all good.
You talk about a laid-back guy. Corey Buttigieg is certainly that. He had a hell of a day, and he's ended up with the points lead at the end of it. Scott White has been bumped back to second, and Lockie Island, the former national champ, is chasing him down in third.
It's a crazy thing to see in that pro bike, an absolute demonstration of skill and driving ability, and that's exactly what we're about to see here with a couple of top fuel rails here thanks to Titan Cranes. I mean, these guys are the absolute pinnacle of drag racing motorsport, and if you've never seen one in person, I well and truly recommend doing it. These things run through you. You feel them as much as you see them. It's a crazy spectacle of a thing.
Yeah, running purely as an exhibition here this weekend, courtesy of the generosity of the Rapisada Autosport International team. And you slow these cars down, it shows you just how violent they are. And we've got the reigning national champion, Damien Harris. He will be furthest away from screen. He'll be taking on Wayne Newby, closest to screen, both racing for the Rapisada team. In fact, this team has probably got more laps under their belt over the last couple of years than just about anybody else. In fact, earlier this year, they ran 4 cars at one event. That shows you the commitment these guys have.
What an absolute experience as these huge cube V8s, bolted derails, roar through the crowd. And you can see the reaction there, the smell of top fuels, the feel of top fuels. It's an experience that's really matched by none.
It's not something you just watch. It is a spiritual experience, Top Fuel drag racing. Anything to do with nitro, let's go on board with Wayne Newby. It was clean all the way through the traps, through the blow belts at the finish line, but it doesn't matter. Nitro is back at Calder Park Raceway. And so we move from nitro to alcohol, top alcohol that is, and it is time to go racing here with the kings of the methanol engine. This is going to be a great class, let me tell you, and I will be expecting to see the track record fall here in quite quick fashion. Time to have a look at the top alcohol championship points. After 2 rounds of the championship, John Canuli is leading the way, 168 points. Steve Reed right behind him. And I tell you what, it is going to be a great battle all the way down to the wire in top alcohol this year.
I mean, from one exotic fuel to another, it's great to see the sights, sounds and smells of serious drag racing back at Calder Park. And for round 1, we're going to see Gary Bush up against Brian Lockman, followed by Craig Russo up against Chris Hargrave, and then John Canuli, our top qualifier, getting a bye through to the semis.
This is a good one. We've got a couple of relative newcomers to top alcohol. In fact, Brian Lockman, I think this is his first ever crack at top alcohol, so great to see him come out and support this top alcohol bracket here this weekend at Calder Park. And Gary Bush has been running top alcohol on and off for probably a couple of years now. He's been doing a great job as well. He's got to be a threat this weekend.
Bush getting the light there, but Lockman in that altered seems keen to chase him down, but an early shut-off and a shoot sees Bush through to the final with a 6.502 at 282 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, way down. Speed way down there for Gary Bush, only 175 miles per hour in the old speak. It looked like the front half of the track is really, really good, but it looks like the back half of the track might not have the same amount of traction because the guys are launching really hard, shaking the tyres on the front half, but then it looks like they're actually spinning the tyres further down track. Next up, we've got a pair of funny cars. It is Craig Russo in that beautifully presented Pontiac funny car, and he'll be taking on Chris Hargrave's far side of the racetrack. Interesting fact, one of the most hallowed racers that's ever been down this quarter mile is Peter Russo in the Nitro funny car. That's his little brother, Craig, in that funny car.
Hargrave getting the light there, but throwing that blower belt off that big boy blown Hemi, and unfortunately handing the win there to Russo, running a 6.081 at 343 kilometres an hour. It is getting quicker, Russ.
Yeah, it is getting quicker. Russo, he's going to have to do a little bit of work, though, coming up to that semi-final matchup. That's a shocker for Hargrave. He was way out in front, probably would have won that race, but unfortunately the blower belt couldn't hold together. And, well, we're about to find out exactly what this track can handle because John Canuli is about to throw everything at it. The points leader, number 1 qualifier. Oh, he's having a couple of stabs at it there. He even had to roll back into the throttle. It wasn't just on and off, he actually rolled into it. 594 though, 358 kilometres per hour. Good run from Canuli, but they're going to have to get this thing sorted. You can see it just shook the tyres really hard just off the start line. He gave it a pedal, rolls back into it, throws a chute at the other end, and I don't think he'd be happy with that. There's still plenty more left in this racetrack. Gary Bush will get the bye run in the semi-final, and he will take on either Craig Russo or John Canuli in that final round. That is your top alcohol ladder for Snap-on.
I'm here with John Canuli, who has got the lowest ET here so far today. That's got to be good for your confidence heading into today's semi-finals.
Yeah, it was. We had a bye run in the first round, and we overstepped it a bit. It went 5.94, so we'll see how we go in the semi-finals.
Now, your brother's pitted beside you, not in the same category, but how's that rivalry playing out today?
Oh, it's good. All 3 cars in the 10 are in the semi-finals, which is good for us. We always tip pit together every time, and it's good to see us all in the semis. Hopefully a couple of us go to the final.
And take those gold trees home.
We're going to try to.
Motorsport is well and truly a family affair, and it's great to see that even on into later life as these guys become serious racers, that bond is still there, and it's part of that family support that really gets these elite drag racers right onto the start line.
Speaking of the start line, Gary Bush just moving forward over the start line, accepts the green light, and that's all he needs to do to take the win and move through to the final round. It's just one of those things in drag racing. You don't need to cross the finish line to actually register a win. All you need to do is accept the starter's orders, take the green light, move forward, and you are deemed to have won the race. And what it does, it saves on maintenance for the crews. It saves the risk of hurting the car in that run and maybe even creating work for yourself between the semi-final and the final run.
Yeah, a lot of tight clearances in these motors that are well and truly pushing the limits of the internal combustion engine. I mean, running on methanol fuel, big blowers on top that are known for the amount of heat and boost that they pump into these motors. So if you can save yourself 440 metres of full throttle driving, why wouldn't you?
Absolutely, and we've got an all funny car matchup now. It is John Cannulli taking on Craig Russo, and how good does this car look of Craig Russo's? The alcohol funny car just absolutely smoking the tyres. It's a great body shape and it's a great paint job as well. If you're ever at an event and you want to go up and have a look at the detail in the paintwork, go and have a look at this car. It is incredible.
And slow-mo always does it for me, Rust, as well. I love watching the amount that these big tyre cars actually grow from that wheel speed. The amount of rubber there held on the tyre with a really low air pressure to get that traction causes the rolling diameter of the wheel to actually increase not only through the burnout, but also throughout the rest of the run. For those at home with a keen eye, try keep an eye on the back of these things as they come through the traps. I mean, they'll gain almost half a metre up.
Yeah, they really do pick up. They basically stand up in the rear end, but it's all on the line here. This is for a spot in the final round of Top Alcohol at the Nationals. Russo was a day and a half late, and you can't give John Cannulli that kind of a chance. He runs it through for a 592 with a 356 kilometres per hour. Got really close to the wall right down there at the finish line, but a win's a win's a win, and they're going through to the final round.
It's amazing to watch in slow-mo how quickly these cars get off the line. Look to be absolutely arrow straight there. And it's interesting to note the hatches popping open on the back and the roof of that car. That's actually as a result of the amount of air these cars are trying to cut through, creating a pressure system within the car. And the more air that you can get out that's not held by panels, the quicker you can run through that top end, which is proven by Cannulli's 592. Going to be going up against Bush in the final, and I'm sure that's going to be quicker.
Ugly burnout for Gary Bush. Not an ideal preparation for a final round, but a Nationals final round, that is the last thing you want. John Cannulli, no problems for him, but Gary Bush, no smoke on the burnout. It didn't even really turn the tyres. Is that going to be the end of his Nationals campaign right here?
Absolutely crucial in drag racing, Russ, is the amount of heat that they can get into these tyres. As I mentioned before, they are running a low air pressure, but a lot of it has to do with the absolute mass of rubber on these tyres. If you don't get that absolutely critically sticky and, more importantly, consistently to the runs that you have set this car up for, you are doomed to fail off that start line. Hopefully Bush can pull it together though.
Yeah, it's a tough one. These days, the tyre manufacturers say that once a tyre's smoking, it's hot enough to go racing. But that being said, you still need to clean the dust, the debris, the rocks off the tyres. And I don't think Gary Bush really had a chance to do that, but you know what? Stranger things have happened, especially here at Calder Park. There's been a lot of history go down this racetrack over the years. A lot of weird and wonderful things have happened right here at Calder Park. Will we see another one in the final round of Top Alcohol for the 2016 Nationals? You'll hear these guys bring the RPMs up as they bring it into stage. I'll bring the revs up to around about 5,500 RPM once they're in full stage. And then they'll drop the clutch, floor it, and off they go.
That is moving. And Cannulli's through the traps with a 5.626 at 407 kilometres an hour. That is the quickest pass we've seen here this weekend. That is absolutely outstanding.
And I'll tell you right now, that would be the quickest Top Alcohol run we've ever seen down this Calder Park quarter mile. That is a great run for the Cannullis, and they take home the gold Christmas tree. Last year was a great year for them, but this year is getting even better. They've got a couple of trophies in the cabinet, and now they've got a Nationals win.
The absolute opposite of traction issues for Bush that we saw before, actually lifting the front wheels and forcing a pedal, something you cannot let Cannulli get away with. Let's hear from him now.
John, what are you going to do with this gold Christmas tree?
These are few and far between. Yeah, we're going to cherish this one. It's our first Nationals event win. And yeah, we finally got another track record.
Describe that winning feeling.
Oh, mate. Any win's a win. Like, we've been chasing this racetrack all weekend, and mate, like we made it right and we got it right for the final. And yeah, I'm going to take this trophy home.
Well, John Cannulli, a very happy man, and he's got every reason to be. Look at that lead that he's got in the points. John Cannulli leading the way. Steve Reed in second. Scott McLean in third. Gary Bush and Gary Phillips rounding out the top five. Don't go anywhere. We've got all the action from Top Fuel Motorcycle and Top Door Slammer coming up after the break. Welcome back to the Australian Drag Racing Nationals here at Calder Park Raceway. We are home, and it is great to say that we've got Top Fuel Motorcycle coming your way. The two-wheeled missiles, the kings of the two-wheeled brigade. It is an incredible class. If you've never seen these bikes before, you are set for a treat. Here are your championship points. Mark Drew's leading the way, but he's not here this weekend. Chris Porter in the box seat to take over that number 1 spot.
Like the top fuel class of the cars, these guys are running on methanol and absolutely pushing the limit of what these motorbike engines can do. Crazy looking vehicles that the crowd have absolutely packed in for, and it's sure to be some neck and neck racing between Parker and Matheson in the first of our semi-finals, followed by Chris Porter up against Graham Morrell.
Speaking of Chris Matheson, the Nitro Voodoo bike on screen now. This thing is an absolute Goliath of Australian drag racing. If you've ever seen a bike that you think might take you to the moon and back, this is probably the bike. This thing is built to run 5 seconds. It's an incredible piece of machinery. I would love to see it run 5 seconds, but at the moment it doesn't have to because, well, nobody else is really keeping up. Phil Parker's in the other lane. He's going to do his best to try and beat Chris Matheson, but it's going to be a big, big ask for him.
Bit of a wobble from both riders heading their way to the right-hand side of the track, but Chris Matheson well and truly in front, running almost a 7 flat with a little bit of speed down on Phil Parker, who was trying to chase him down as quickly as he could. But, I mean, that's the view that really shows these bikes off, absolutely riding wheelie bars that are longer than any conventional motorbike. What a loose ride.
Drifting any motorbike is insane, but drifting a big square tyre fuel bike, that's incredible. Chris Porter now, he's on the left-hand side of the screen. He's taking on Graham Morrell, the giant killer from a couple of years ago. This guy came so close to a championship. It was incredible, and he did it through consistency. Everyone else beat themselves. He just kept going down the racetrack. Does it again. Chris Porter was flirting with that centre line the whole way down the racetrack, and Graham Morrell nearly ran around the outside of him. That was incredible. He's always quick on the tree, this guy. No different this time around. He was first off the line by a bunch, almost half a second on the start line. But Chris Porter, he was flirting with that centre line. He didn't get it, but man, he got close.
Yeah, absolutely hanging off the side of that square tyre to get through to the final, facing up against Chris Matheson.
I'm here with Chris Matheson, who is in the final of the Top Fuel motorcycles here today. How's the Nitro Voodoo treating you?
Yeah, really good. The bike's going well. Track's a little bit challenging, but yeah, bike's going good. Team's going good too.
And what are you hoping to run in the last pass?
If we can go straight, we don't get all ugly. Hoping to run a low 6 if we can. Yeah.
So Chris Matheson, the Nitro Voodoo. Oh, I just love listening to that bike. It's got a note all of its own, doesn't it? The supercharged multi-cylinder nitro combination taking on the big thumping V-twin. They just sound completely different, don't they?
Yeah, that's what I love about drag racing. People really chasing the power out of unique engine combos and finding what works for them. These bikes couldn't be any more different sitting on the line next to each other. But we know that the result is going to be the same. One is going to win and one is going to lose.
Matheson, he's on a number here. He actually gets out of the throttle at the 1,000-foot mark and still goes a 6:58. That is incredible. That's not quite a track record here at Calder Park Raceway, but man, oh man, it is one of the quickest runs we've seen for a long, long time. Let's have a look at the super slow-mo. Look at all the clutch dust coming out of that bike, just slipping it, trying to get it down the racetrack. Chris Porter gave it a valiant effort. He went 7-0 in the other lane, but it was all Chris Matheson. He takes it across the line, and he's with Ebony at the top end.
Jim Greenlee from Summit Racing handing over the ANDRA Gold Trophy. Chris, how satisfying is the win?
I feel short, actually. I must be standing in a hole. Nah, really good. It's a good result. The guys have worked hard all weekend. The track's put on a good show. Track was a bit dicey for us once we got out a bit, but the start line and out to about half was really good. So testing new motors, continue on with the testing.
A very happy Chris Matheson, and he moves up to second in the points. Chris Porter still leading the way on that Harley, and Mark Drew been bumped all the way back to third.
Time now for another exhibition run from the Rapisado Autosport International team. These guys bring out not one, but two rails to run side by side. These top fuel guys, absolutely pinnacle performers, both of drag racing and as drivers in their own right. I mean, both of them have been over the States, haven't they, right?
They have. They've both raced in the NHRA. Wayne Newby and Damien Harris both raced for the Rapisado Autosport International team. And that's the thing you've got to remember, is that the Rapisado team don't just race here in Australia. They race all around the world. They've been racing in the NHRA for the last couple of years. They've had a whole bunch of drivers drive for them, including former world champions like Larry Dixon, guys who have always been up there in the points like Corey McLenithan. These guys are the best at what they do.
And it's the things you see here at the peak of the sport. I mean, they've got a guy on this car for absolutely every part of it. You saw dudes scraping rubber off the rear tyres there. They need to get the absolutely perfect surface that other guys out there drag racing would have just been doing the burnout to achieve. That is why they do it. These things need every ounce of traction to get those 1,000 of horsepower blown V8s down that 440 metres or so and run some serious times. I mean, right down into the 5s and 4s.
Yeah, really good side-by-side run there. Looked like they were maybe mixing up the cylinders a little bit at the top end of the racetrack. That is, putting the spark out inside the cylinder, putting too much fuel in there. But let's go on board. You'll see on the right-hand side, the left-hand side of the motor, mixing up the cylinders all over the place, but it doesn't matter. It was a great side-by-side run. Top door slammer, one of the wildest categories that we've got in the ANDRA Drag Racing Series, and we are set for a start here at the Nationals. This is a great field of cars. We've even got the multi. I can't even count how many championships he's got. John Zappia, and he's leading the points already. He's there, 311. Grant O'Rourke right in behind him on 213, and Mark Valeri, Ben Brain, Peter Kapiris rounding out the top 5. I joke about John Zappia, but that guy is a legend. 8 championships in a row, something that I don't think will ever be done in this country ever again. But before we get to him, we need to tackle the first matchup of the first round. It is Peter Kapiris taking on Robin Taylor. Paul Canuli will take on Tony De Felice, Jeff Graydon and Grant O'Rourke to do battle, and in the big matchup for mine, John Zappia taking on Mark Valeri, driving for Morris Fabietti.
First pairing now, Robin Taylor in that weapon of a 68 Camaro up against Peter Kapiris in the far lane in a 59 Saratoga.
This class is probably one of the most wild classes in drag racing, full stop. One of the hardest cars to drive, and certainly one of the most unpredictable. Oh, problems. Kapiris peddling it. Taylor's got smoke coming out of it, but he's not letting off the throttle. 617 takes it for Kapiris. A 626 for Robin Taylor was close, but just not quite enough. And I tell you what, Peter Kapiris had to do some driving here.
Way to pedal that thing down. I mean, both of them seem to have issues, traction issues for Kapiris and maybe engine issues for Robin Taylor. We're both well and truly into it to run that low 6-second pass.
Next pair, Grant O'Rourke taking on Jeff Graydon. Graydon far side of the racetrack. O'Rourke in the black car.
A little bit loose out of the 60 there, and I think a slight touch of the wall there for Graydon. But on the other side of the track, the first ever 5-second pass at Calder Raceway for O'Rourke. Absolutely ecstatic at the line, and how could you not be?
I'll tell you what, Debbie O'Rourke, I haven't seen a smile like that for a long time. Look at Graydon. He definitely got into that wall. There was definitely some scrapes coming off. I think it might have been paint off the wall rather than off the car, but that's a shame because that's a pretty car. But Grant O'Rourke did nothing wrong there. A 5.99 with a 9. He couldn't go 1,000 slower because he'd be in the 6s, but he gets the first ever 5-second pass here at Calder Park Raceway.
Well and truly composed too, hand on the chute the whole way down, ready to run that pass, and it was absolutely incredible. But up next, we will see John Zappia, the man himself, a guy who is no stranger to the 5-second zone and may even reset that only recently set record, but only time will tell.
Mark Valeri closest to screen, giving him a race at least to the 1,000-foot mark, and John Zappia, a 5.74. He takes that new track record, smashes it on the ground, and then dances on its grave. That's an incredible run from John Zappia.
Up and over the 400k an hour mark as well, something that would be quite hairy with how loose that thing got at half track. Let's ride on board. White knuckles and swinging doors, that was absolutely crazy.
Next up, we got Paul Cannuli taking on Tony De Felice. De Felice on the far side of the racetrack. And interesting to note, he actually owns a Ferrari that's racing in the Bathurst 12 Hour this year. He's a very, very well-respected circuit racer as well as drag racer, so a little bit of cross-pollination there, but it's all about the straight line here this weekend, the Nationals, and unfortunately he's not going to be going to the semi-finals, but Paul Cannuli, a 6-1-0, that's a run for the top qualifier, and the boys will be happy with that one.
De Felice unfortunately left on the line by only 0.2 of a second, but something that Cannuli absolutely nailed into the ground with 0.02 of a second at the deep end. That means Kapiris will be facing up against Cannuli while O'Rourke tries to take down the big dog in Zappia.
I'm here with John Zappia, who just got the fastest ever door slammer pass here at Calder Park. How fantastic is that result today?
Oh, no, it was awesome. You know, after last night, I had a couple of hairy runs, and I just thought, I don't know, I just got to try and tame this car down a little bit. So I actually took some power out of it to try and make it smoother to get down the track. And you know, and then they come and tell me it went at 5.7, and then it was a 5.74 at 2.49 mile an hour. It was like, whoa, you know. Grant O'Rourke ran a 5.99 in front of me. That was the first 5 ever, and then second pass was a 74, so yeah, pretty stoked about that.
An exciting ride with an exciting guy that is sure to be backed up in the semi-finals.
And this is going to be a great semi-final matchup. Paul Cannuli, the PC Cranes. Plymouth Duster, not a body shape that we see a lot of, and he'll be taking on the former national champion Peter Kapiris. He won the Nationals here at Calder Park Raceway in top door slammer way back in 2001. This guy is a legend here at Calder Park Raceway. He's got a legion of fans. He's from Victoria. He's got the whole family out here this weekend, and he wants to take home that big trophy.
Two obscure body styles with two big blowers coming into stage now for what is sure to be a wild ride.
Oh, great race. And Kapiris takes it at 6.14. He got way over near the centre line, and Paul Cannuli was right alongside him. Let's have a look at the onboard with Peter Kapiris. He was driving this thing the whole way down the racetrack. Look at the lock on the steering wheel. He reefs it across, pops the chute. He's still got his hands full in the braking area, but he's on his way to the final round here at Calder Park Raceway.
Definitely chased him down there. I mean, actually a 40 mile an hour difference almost, Cannuli to Kapiris, really chasing him down that top end and getting that win.
Next up, Grant O'Rourke, left of screen, taking on the legend, John Zappia, the man who has conquered everything in front of him for the last, pretty much the better part of the last decade. He's won 8 consecutive national titles. He has won pretty much every race on the tour. Anyone who he races up against knows that they need to bring their A game if they've got any shot whatsoever. But I've got to say, Grant O'Rourke has beaten John Zappia quite a few times over the last couple of years. He's a bit of a bogeyman when it comes to John Zappia, so can he do it again here at the biggest race of the year?
Zappia getting that light there. And through with a 5.82 backing up. I mean, we hadn't seen a 5-second pass at this track before today. Now we've seen 3 of them.
4 of them, in fact, because we saw a 5.95 from Grant O'Rourke, side-by-side 5s here at Calder Park Raceway. First time we've ever seen that. Records are falling all over the place here this weekend. On board with O'Rourke, plugging the gears. And you just see Zappia out in front. O'Rourke pops the chutes. That's all he can do. He knows his weekend is done.
Heading to the ladder now, we know it's going to be Kapiris up against Zappia, 2 very experienced racers in 2 incredibly fast door slams. I mean, like you said, Russ, we've seen records drop everywhere. Will we see one in the final?
Well, we will find out very, very shortly.
That's Saratoga absolutely smoking it in the right-hand lane. Waiting for that Fuchs Lubricants Monaro. I mean, one of the more iconic cars in Top Door Slammer. When you think of Top Door Slammer, you think of that John Zappia Monaro.
Yeah, Zap's Rat. It is an iconic piece of machinery in Top Door Slammer. But I'll tell you what, Peter Kapiris, he's had his own iconic pieces of machinery over the years. He's had that Chevy Beretta all those years ago. He had the Big Statesman. the Studebaker, and of course the Saratoga. Now he's had a fair share of wild machines over the years, but John Zappia has stayed true to that HQ. Zapp's rat. He's run it for many, many years in many different configurations, but certainly this one has been the most winning of them all. 8 national titles, and he's looking for another one this season. But before he does that, he wants to win the Nationals here at Calder Park Raceway.
And there is definitely a big roadblock standing in front of him. Peter Kapiris in that Saratoga. I mean, this thing has been absolutely on fire all weekend. Will he get that 5-second pass?
He's a bit of a speed merchant, Peter Kapiris, and a lot of that's got to do with that man in front of the car right now, Mark Brew, the tuner on this car. He's been tuning it for many, many years and came perilously close to a championship just a couple of years ago. It was stolen away by the man in the other lane. He doesn't want him to take the trophy this time, though.
Kapiris gets that light, but that gap opened up by Zappia at half track is hard to deny there. Almost 0.3 of a second between the two cars. What a win for the Fuchs Lubricant team.
And a 5.76. Again, just head and shoulders above the rest of the field, John Zappia. I don't know how he does this. Time after time, racetrack after racetrack. Doesn't matter where we are in Australia, he just comes out and brains them every single time. And this time, it's resulted in a Christmas tree, a gold Christmas tree, and a Nationals gold Christmas tree. Congratulations to John Zappia. He's with Ebony at the top end of the racetrack.
John Zappia getting the fastest time in a top door slammer here at Calder Park. How satisfying is that?
I know, that was awesome. Yeah, after last night, a 6.10 and all over the track, and then a 6.07. Pretty scary stuff, but they prepped the track a bit more today. We went away and did our homework and detuned the car a little bit and just got it to go down the track without having to pedal it. And it's the first time I've driven it a couple of passes, 3 passes in a row actually, without having to pedal it. Unreal.
What better way for Zappia to prove his place at the top of the ladder there, running 2 5.7 second passes, putting him on top of Peter Kapiris with 284. Big point gap there, but O'Rourke right behind.
Well, that puts a cap on our visit to Calder Park Raceway and the hallowed turf of the 2016 Australian Nationals. Dave, it's been great to come back after 15 years.
I mean, we saw some records drop, and I, for one, am excited for the future of Victorian and Australian drag racing as a whole, with Calder Park Raceway well and truly up and running.
Well, that's all we've got for today. On behalf of Dave Carter and myself, we'll see you next time on ANDRA Drag Racing.
That's it for today's show. Speedweek will take a break over the next few weeks as SBS brings you back-to-back weeks of live motorcycle racing. Next Sunday, the My Bike Motorcycle Insurance Australian Superbike Championship presented by Motul heads to Queensland Raceway on the outskirts of Brisbane for round 2. Live and free coverage on SBS and SBS On Demand commences from 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, and for tickets and event details, head to asbk.com.au. 1 week later, the Penrite Pro MX Championship presented by AMX Superstores kicks into top gear with the Wonthaggi Motocross track in Victoria hosting round 1. SBS and SBS On Demand is your go-to destination for live and free coverage from 12:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. And for event details and the latest Pro MX news, head to ozpromx.com.au.